Hi guys and welcome. I'm Kevin Murcko, CEO of CoinMetro. Welcome to our weekly AMA. Glad to have you guys aboard. We've changed the content or the actual structure of this a little bit just to maybe make it a bit more entertaining for people and bring a little more insight into what we do here what I do here on a weekly basis. So just to let you guys know, I'm sitting inside of a meeting room, an external meeting room at a hotel here in Talon. Where we just wrapped up a two-day workshop, marketing workshop. We had several team members, 9 of us here from different segments of the organization. Quite a productive meeting. You can see some of the output behind me. I'm going to jump right in to the first part of the hour, which is going over some stories that came out in the, let's say, general crypto news around the industry over the last week. Just going to go through the 3 news pieces that were kind of selected for this. After I briefly talk about each piece, I'll open up for a few questions. We'll spend about 7-8 minutes per piece, and then we'll move on to segment 2, which is actually an update, quick update, 10-minute update for CoinMetro. We will then go into 15 minutes to discuss some Reddit questions that were asked on Reddit over the past week. And then the last 10 minutes we'll devote to the Ask Me Anything. So you guys will be able to ask me your questions based on anything that may come to mind. So I'm going to jump right into This Week in Crypto. And so we have a first article we're talking about here. It came out on CoinDesk recently. And it basically discusses the integration of tax regulations on exchanges. So this discusses basically a regulator in India is looking on how exactly they're going to go about taxing exchanges. So my general view on this, to be 100% honest, is positive. That doesn't mean that I love taxes. Obviously, as a businessman, I'm always looking at ways to legally save on taxes and make sure that our tax expenditure is as, let's say, agile as it possibly can be. However, what it does mean is that this market is starting to grow to a point that the tax authorities are starting to take a look at it, and that's a good thing. The fact that they're looking and they know that there's money changing hands, that there's money being made and lost, because the fact that the tax regulators are looking and to the point to where they actually create some type of framework around this means that you not only have to maybe pay. Or you will have to pay. Obviously, they're tax guys. They're all about payments. So you will have to pay for winnings. That does mean you will be able to write off losses in most cases. So, it's a give and take. But at the end of the day, the fact that regulators are looking deeper into this, again, regulate doesn't mean you don't need to like regulation to like regulation. Regulation in and of itself is not a bad thing. While it does maybe take away some quote-unquote freedoms that some people believe they have or maybe wish they had in some type of financial utopia, it does provide a framework, it provides guidance, it does provide a filter to the market in general. It also helps businesses understand how they need to comply, and we all want to deal with compliant businesses. Regardless of what you think about the regulation, what you don't want to deal with is a company that has the ability to either run off with your money, or even if it's a quote-unquote decentralized exchange, you want to make sure that the technology behind that exchange and the people behind that exchange don't have the ability to backdoor something or to change the software or change the API layers or do whatever that can cause some type of malfeasance, let's say. So point being is that all regulation initially is positive, and we should applaud it, even if we do believe our underlying thought process isn't necessarily positive. I'm sorry, I'm just looking back here. I'm seeing that the volume might be a bit low for people, so I'm going to see about raising it. Just give me a second, please. Unfortunately, I don't have an external mic with me here, which means that I'm using the microphone on my laptop. So that can cause, I guess, a bit of low volume, unfortunately. me see here. Just bear with me for a second, guys. I'm going to... Okay, I don't know if this may or may not make things better or worse, but let me check here on the stream and see if anybody can hear me maybe a bit better. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to jump right back in. I see people are already starting to post questions. Guys, hold those off to the last. I'm probably going to make a little more time than 10 minutes, but let's hold those off until we get through these crypto news stories. I'm going to breeze through the next two real quick for you guys. Go to those AMA questions, and then we'll work on after a quick update here about basically what's been going on in CoinMetro the last week. I'll jump into these questions. So please hold them off. I'll let you guys know when you need to post your questions. So let me get back to this news story. So we covered the taxes, everybody's favorite topic. Next story we're going to talk about is True USD. So what some people are calling a better version of Tether. Binance is adding it to their platform. I'm going to be pretty blunt on this one. I do not agree and do not believe in and do not plan to list any stable coins. And I'll tell you why. And it's a rather short answer, which is uncommon for me. And maybe it's not that short. Let's see what happens. But the reason why is simple. And that is because the stable coin was created to put a Band-Aid on a much larger problem. That problem is that exchanges, for the most part, don't have fiat onboarding and offboarding. I mean, they don't have any viable way to bring fiat onto their platform or allow people to withdraw fiat from their platform, which creates a problem when you have a bunch of illiquid assets trading against each other. It creates much higher volatility and very, very low liquidity. So some genius at some point, and I do say genius in a relatively nice light, thought of creating a stable coin. And while that idea does temporarily solve a much larger and systemic problem, it doesn't do anything to address the underlying much larger issue, which is there's no easy way to bring fiat onto platforms. So for me, the way to solve this is to solve it for the long term, and that's under our simplification umbrella by bringing fiat options onto exchanges. That's the way to solve this, guys. The irony here is that the, let's say, anarchist crowd that initially kind of created crypto did it to get away from banks and to get away from fiat. Now some of that same crowd is willing to put their faith in a company that supposedly backs a crypto asset with fiat. I don't understand the correlation there. Blows my mind. I don't get it. So they didn't want to trust fiat to begin with. Now they want to trust a third party that says that they're trusting the assets in fiat. So anyway, for me, stable coins are stupid. And it's a very easy Band-Aid solution for something that needs to be addressed. So for me, stable coins are a bad idea. The last story I'm going to touch on, and this came out on the Canadian news. So U.S. government, a probe into BTC crypto price manipulation. So let's put it this way, guys. They don't need to do any type of probe. There's BTC price manipulation. There's Ether price manipulation. There is every crypto price manipulation right now. Wash trades are abound in the crypto industry. For people who don't necessarily know what a wash trade is, a wash trade is basically when an exchange, for the most part, will post orders on both sides of the book, basically fill their own orders to manipulate price. So if they want price to go down or up, they will essentially create what are either very multiple illiquid orders just to push price, and that's basically due because there's no price discovery on these exchanges. So that's actually an error on the exchange part. But exchanges do it as well. Exchanges will create fictitious orders with no liquidity behind them to artificially move the price. That happens on a daily basis across probably a wide swath of the exchanges that are available in the market. If this was a more mature, regulated marketplace, that would be illegal and punishable not only by large fines, but more than likely jail time. So another thing that happens in this market that shouldn't and won't, and a reason why we should be pushing for regulation. Again, I wouldn't say I'm a guy that would say that regulation is the key to all issues in every marketplace. By far, it's not. But generally speaking, a financial marketplace that doesn't have regulation is a dangerous one, and usually it's dangerous for the retail investor. That's usually where the danger lies. Institutional guys can usually get around the danger and sometimes cause the danger. So yeah, we need to be on the forefront of regulation. So we actually had 25 minutes to discuss these. I breezed through them a bit faster than that. I'm going to check real quick on the stream here to see if there's any questions related to these. Let's see. Okay, so I don't see any questions directly related to those, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to try to get you guys a little bit more time for our questions. So let's continue onward. We're going to run into the CM update. Okay, so CoinMetro update this week. So as I said, as you look behind me here, I'm sitting in a meeting room inside a hotel. We've been here, or 9 of us from the team were here basically yesterday and today. Yesterday from 8:30 in the morning till about 6 at night, and today from 8:30 again till about 4. And we basically did 2 days of intensive workshops around marketing. So what you see behind me is some of the output. That's basically essentially the roadmap for marketing. And we went through USPs, UVPs, USPs, which are our unique proposals that we're offering to the market, who we're going to target those UVPs to. So what type of client segments, what type of segments are inside of those client segments, how we're going to target each, what type of channels we're going to use to target those investors or those traders or what have you. And then basically with our dev team who joined us via Skype, part of our dev team, our CTO, as well as our chief mobile, basically development lead. That's probably not his real title, but Giovanni joined us and Salvatore joined us. So they helped fill in some holes so that we know exactly when the development roadmap meets the marketing roadmap. So it's quite a progressive 2 days. In the beginning of the week, I was dealing a lot with liquidity providers. So I've been personally in talks with about 6 different liquidity providers. I would have to say that 2 impressed me to a certain extent. 1 impressed me more than the other, and the other 4 were, well, not so impressive. So the immaturity of the market definitely doesn't just end at the retail side. It is very much into the institutional side or the quasi-institutional side of this marketplace as well, though there are some lights at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So I'm happy to say that we should have, or we will have, several different liquidity options when we launch, and these will be legitimate liquidity options, meaning that they will be basically depositing funds with us just like any client would and making into our book just like any client can at different levels, and also utilizing some API coverage as well. So and Fix as well. So Fix, if anybody doesn't know, is essentially the standardized messaging protocol for the financial markets. Every other financial market in some way, shape, or form uses Fix, which actually stands for Financial Information Exchange, to basically pass data back and forth between themselves. So I've been working on that. On the banking side, there's some updates here or there, mainly on alternative banking. I can now say that we officially have a fiat onboard and offboard for Euro inside the SEPA region. So that is official at this point. We will have the ability to allow clients in the Eurozone or with accounts in the Eurozone to deposit and withdraw Euro. Obviously, we're working on other currencies. As we work on those currencies, we will be making announcements. We're also making some moves on the regulation front. We've commissioned some studies and some memorandums from several different jurisdictions. One of the main jurisdictions we're focused on right now is the UK for an e-money license to basically establish a stronger footprint when it comes to banking inside and outside, and for inside the EU, but also for outside the EU. We're also looking at a few other regions of the world. We do already, as some of you may know, we have an office in Mexico that focuses on client support. We have 6 client support officers right now in Mexico. There will be some, lawyers that we work with sat down with the CNBV, which in Spanish stands for the Comisión Nacional de Bancos y Valores, which essentially is the SEC in Mexico. So it's the Securities Commission, basically, in Mexico. It covers both banks and basically brokers and exchanges. They're actually going to be pushing some legislation through Congress in Mexico towards the end of the summer that's going to directly equate to our business. So we're looking to see what we need to do to change that office from a basically administrative office into an actual operational office. That means that we will be able to take on clients not only in Mexico but also throughout Latin America with local onboarding in local currencies. So that would start with the Mexican peso, would more than likely evolve over time to the Argentinian peso, into Chile, as well as into Brazil, depending on as regulation starts to mature into those different areas. But Mexico is the second largest economy in Latin America, and it's actually a great place to start. I lived there for 18 years. I have some inroads to people that can make things happen, so I'm quite excited about that regulation. We're also looking for more of a commercial angle inside the continent of Africa. Nigeria being one place we're looking, not so much on the regulation angle, though we will look for regulation. It's more about the business avenue, and there's lots of volume to be had in Africa, especially in Nigeria, and a few places in Africa, including South Africa, Nigeria, a few other countries as well. There's an expanding middle class. They're very well accustomed to using digital money. M-Pesa, which is money from cell phone to cell phone, has been prevalent there for over a decade, much more than a decade actually. So it's actually for commercial purposes, it's actually a great thing. We're also looking into Asia, but the UK push is, I would say, started. So has the Mexico push, and we're looking into Asia. Asia may be later on, so probably towards Q1 of next year. But we're also making strides there. On the hiring process, we're currently looking to fill several roles. We had some great interviews the other day for COO. Really great interviews. Hard choice there, to be honest. But definitely saw people that can help us reach our goals, that we're excited to help us reach our goals. So that's exciting for me. Having, let's say, somebody by my side that can push execution and really follow those metrics and bring more life into the company is definitely something that makes me smile. So I'm happy about that. So guys, after our CM update, basically next thing on the agenda, which was scheduled for about 15-20 minutes from now, but I'm going to jump into it so you guys have some extra time to ask me your questions. These are our Reddit questions. So these are questions that were asked on Reddit throughout the last week. I see I have 12 of them, so I'm going to go through them as quickly as I can. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to answer the question. If you guys have any follow-up questions, just please hold them back till I finish. This probably is going to take about 10-15 minutes, but there's some interesting questions here, so hopefully you'll listen in because it might cover what you may already want to know. So first question on the block here from the author just got banned from BTC. Sorry to hear that. Is when will the API be available? So the API, the client-facing API, will be available sometime after the initial demo beta launch, before we go into actual live production out of beta. So that would mean sometime between basically the end of Q2, which is now June, basically, well, almost now, and the middle of Q3. So we will have an API available immediately upon, let's say, live beta, because we will be bringing in liquidity. But that will be more of an institutional-facing, let's say. It's still front-facing, kind of, but it's more back-facing almost, because it serves a slightly different purpose, even though it's very similar. However, obviously that's something we want to release, but we need to make sure, one, we have liquidity on the platform to handle API trading, and two, we need to test it. So hopefully that answers your question. Second question up, 44-ounce styrofoam cup. hopefully who's still walking straight, asked this question. Months ago, concerns over regulation and the ability to obtain regulatory licensing was a forefront issue. How is the growth out of your regulatory footprint proceeding? And do you feel it will allow CoinMetro to take a strong spot in the cryptocurrency world? So concerns over regulation, I think, are still a forefront, and they will. I think regulation as a whole should always be a forefront issue. One, because right now we're trying to help the narrative around regulation, and two, once the regulation's in place, it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be tested, it needs to be might need to be fine-tuned. Things we think we need now, things the regulator thinks they need to do now, might not be something they need to do in the future. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say on transaction monitoring. We have implemented and will implement blockchain transaction monitoring. Blockchain transaction monitoring is actually a very, very strong tool to be able to track transactions. But in the way it functions now, it can create false positives. It also could be construed from some people as a little bit intrusive. Now, the fact, I think over time, the ability to use these tools will evolve based on regulation. So the regulation now may want to put them in full force, may be a good idea to do so the regulator understands that compliant exchanges want to be compliant, and we want to be able to find bad actors inside of our clients. But at some point, when we're able to have enough data to be able to realize that sometimes these maybe go a little overboard or create too many false positives, that may change. It may change where the tool sets we use become a bit more restrictive on our side and a little more open, let's say, so that we're not kind of analyzing so deep, or we don't need to. So that's just one example. How is it affecting our growth? So I just talked about it just a couple of moments back about the fact that we're looking at different licenses that we want to gain or apply for and hopefully gain. That's not going to change. I think one of the main things we need to do at CoinMetro to stay let's say ahead of the game, so to speak, is make sure that we're constantly on the lookout for new regulation, how regulation is changing, adapting, and adapt with and sometimes before that happens. So while I think we're going well, we're generally either on schedule or ahead of schedule when it comes to the regulatory aspect. So I don't expect that to change. We're going to get quite aggressive on the regulatory angle because we can see that some of our competitors simply don't care about the regulatory angle, and that is a severe mistake. And we want to make sure that we're able to capitalize on that from a commercial standpoint, and also just to show the world and show the regulators at large that crypto actually isn't something they should be negative about. And that includes the banking sector, who is actually probably to a certain extent more negative than the actual regulator at this point. Third question from ABC2JB. Is the current drawdown in crypto prices having an unexpected negative effect on running CoinMetro, or was such a situation planned for? Planned for? Hard to answer. But known that it could happen. So let's say generally aware of the possibility that this would happen and the probability, yes, for sure. The probability that crypto prices are erratic should be in everybody's mind that's involved in crypto right now. Also, from my mindset, we've introduced synthetic liquidity into the market, which brings in, to a certain extent, less volatility, which at the same time then brings in a bit of stagnation in pricing. So what we've seen now, where we've kind of started to amass lots of resistance and support around different price levels, I think is happening a lot because of the induction or the entrance of these synthetic products. So not unexpected, something that we definitely knew could happen and eventually would happen. Has it had a negative effect on us right now? No. There's a negative side effect, obviously, that as we pay for things and when we have to exchange crypto in larger sums, we're obviously losing some of that underlying fiat value based to how we received the crypto. How do we kind of defend against that? Well, we make sure that we spend only when we need to spend, and that while we want to grow quickly, we don't want to grow stupidly. So it's really just making sure your procedures and your business your overall business plan and your business planning focus a lot on expenditures. So hopefully that answers your question as well. Number 4. I guess it's Boricua. It was supposed to, or Borg Queen X. So I guess Latina out there. Nice. So we have hi. Number 1, do you have a strong referral system in place to attract users? Can you share details? Does it beat Binance with 20 to 40% commission on every trade? Do we have a strong referral system? We have our ambassador program, which we used during the token sale, that will carry over into the main business. We haven't yet set the commission levels. Why not? Well, we haven't gotten there yet, to be honest. We will have a referral program. It is, quote unquote, in place. 20 to 40%. So from the Binance side, I noticed they have a promotion right now. I think they're charging a bit less fees. So way to go, Binance, on that one. Good way to reward your users. Remember, though, that on our side, we're going to be paying makers, which means we're paying 50% of the commissions we take in to any makers on the exchange. That's quite a huge bonus in and of itself. We also obviously will be charging a default rate that's far lower than most exchanges, and our plan is to push that lower and lower over time. So our overall margins will be less than most other exchanges at the beginning. That doesn't mean we won't offer referral commissions, affiliate commissions. We will. I think the lower end of that spectrum is probably doable for us initially. Over time, we will understand how high we can go. Referrals are important, but I can give you a caveat from the FX industry. Most FX companies, probably even large ones, could probably count the IBs that actually make them money on one hand, maybe 2 hands, maybe the largest retail broker on their hands and feet. It creates a lot of work internally, creates a lot of admin work. You have to create almost a different support team to support those IBs. And the vast majority of them, while they cost you money to support, they bring nothing. So that doesn't mean that the same thing happens here, and I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that we will offer it. Not sure exactly of the commission yet, and over time, we will adapt to the market and how we see from our own analytics. So number 2, same author. Ken, will you accept fiat trading at start of the exchange beta, or do you still need things for that? For example, a banking partnership. So I would say banking partnership is the wrong terminology. It's banking partnerships, and it will always be banking partnerships. Any company in this industry that thinks they can that they will get away with using one bank hasn't been in the financial industry too long. You need multiple banking partners, multiple alternative banking partners, multiple payment gateways, multiple merchant accounts. You literally need to have a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup, almost down 10 levels, to make sure you have business continuity and that you have available options worldwide. Now, there are partners that provide, alternative payment partners that provide multiple types of deposits around the world. However, some of them are not yet crypto friendly. Those that are can be quite high priced. So anyway, the point is that as I answered earlier, we now have secured Euro in the SEPA zone. So that is secured. We have a onboard and offboard possibility for Euro in the SEPA zone as of now. We're working on Euro Swift, and we're working on other currencies. So as they become available, we'll make those announcements. But the answer, exchange beta in demo, obviously is demo. Once we go into exchange beta live trading, yes, we will have a fiat onboarding and offboarding mechanism, at least in Euro to begin with, in the SEPA zone, if not Swift, if we can get that together before the live beta happens. Number 5, CoinMetro fan. Will future airdrops of tokens that are onboarded via the ICO Express be prorated between airdrop family members according to their XCM holdings? It's a good question. It's not something that we've totally agreed upon yet internally. It's something that we've talked about. It's fair and can be construed, obviously, as unfair. Depends on how you sit in that spectrum. Obviously, if you're one of those 5,000 and you got into that CoinMetro family airdrop, but maybe you only participated in the token sale with the minimum because you had no other option, or maybe you wanted to put more funds, but you just didn't make it, or what have you. Obviously your participation would be quite low, though I do kind of side with the fact that it should depend on some other factor. What I can tell you is there really hasn't been a decision made on that yet, though it has been discussed. These type of business decisions are going to be made over the next few weeks as we start to get into that beta launch. So I will come back to this one at a later date, either next week or the week after, with a definitive answer for you. Number 6, Ed Mocha 93 or Ed Mocha 93. When top 5 exchange listing. So there's 2 answers to this question. One, in a perfect world, never. And I'll explain why. And I've explained this a lot of times throughout the token sale. A lot of people assume, and assume incorrectly, that multiple exchange listings, especially initially, are a good thing. They're not. XCM by its very nature, and most tokens by their very nature, are illiquid. And taking an illiquid asset and spreading it across multiple exchanges makes it more illiquid. So it makes it more volatile. And that means that if there's more sellers in the market than buyers initially, which is a strong possibility, then it drops harder than it would have on one single exchange. So the point is initially it'll be on our exchange. That's where it'll be tradable. At the point where demand outpaces supply, so there are more buyers than sellers in the market, we will look to see if it makes sense to partner with another exchange to list. Now, the same way we're vetting tokens for our own exchange, we will vet exchanges. And I hate to say it, but today, in this market, I don't think any exchange that currently operates, except for maybe one, would pass that vetting. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight on that one. FX Leonardo, question 7, regarding the use of ATM for withdrawal. When will the feature be available? Is there a limit on how much money can be withdrawn at a time? What system provider does CM work with? Star, etc. Can one withdraw anywhere in the world? Is the withdrawal available in fiat currency? Is the withdrawal stored in CM Exchange, insured against theft or hacking? Okay, Leonardo, quite the and I like the FX on your title there. Way to go! I hope profitable trades for you. So when will the feature be available? So the cards are slated, I believe, for July. We are on target for that. We are currently looking at. We had one provider we were going to work with. Some things have changed on their end that makes their offer, while still probably on par or above par with anything else that's available in the market, not optimal for me. And I'm looking at another provider, which is actually one of the biggest card providers in the world. They provide programs to banks, credit unions, large institutions, etc. And we're going over pricing. The implementation time is 30 to 60 days. So again, we are in time on our end. We would complete the integration before it was actually ready to launch. So we are on schedule with that launch, and I expect it to happen in July at this point. There will be a limit, and that's set by the card issuer, and that means I can't say the name, unfortunately. This is it's a legal thing. One, we haven't signed a contract yet. Even when we do, most issuers do not allow you to promote the actual name of the issuer unless you're promoting it internally to a client. What I can say is it's one of the 2 major issuers of prepaid cards in the world. So it will work globally, worldwide. You will withdraw fiat at the ATM. Is the balance stored in CM Exchange insured against theft or hacking? We are working on that. It's difficult right now in this industry to find insurers that will work with our type of company, and that's mainly because they believe the hype, and they probably have looked at some of the competition and are scared. We're trying to change that. We're going to be launching a lot of PR to try to change that, a governmental outreach to try to show governments and regulators alike that we're different, and hopefully that goes a long way to enabling us to actually find an insurer. Obviously, being operational and showing them how we operate will also help. Number 8, K&G. Are the fees for margin trading going to impact the overall trading amount or just the amount the trader submits? For example, let's say I have 1 to 10 and put 10 euros to trade 100 euros. Is the platform going to charge fees on 10 or 100? 100, because it charges, just like FX, it's based on how the trade you're opening, not your actual equity. It's based on what you're trading. So you'd get charged fees for those 100 euros. Second question in there, what happened to Crypto AM? So Crypto AM, I think, slowed down a bit. They just came out with their 3rd episode. I'm actually going to meet Ruben Godfrey later on today. He's here in town. He was here for 2 conferences that were here that I missed, unfortunately, because I was in our marketing workshop. But CM marketing, more important to me right now, unfortunately, than going to conferences, though I wish I could have been there. So I'm going to talk to him about it, and I'll follow up in a later episode. Number 9, Delicious Dimes. Few questions. Okay, we're getting close here, guys. We're almost to the end. I'm going to try to finish up in 4 or 5 minutes. Give us 20 minutes to talk about these questions, AMA questions. So first, in regards to the roadmap and dates, you will list more coins. Is this set in stone, or is there a way to speed up this process? I think the sooner you can make new altcoin listings, the sooner you will take market share. A lot of experienced crypto traders are waiting for something like CoinMetro. Okay, I'm going to just basically talking about the competition. And number 2, the second question is, would you consider pooling liquidity with other exchanges using a system like the World Book by Quoine? Quoine? Okay, so, and I probably pronounced that wrong. I apologize. But to whoever that company is, because I haven't heard of them. First, in regards to the roadmap. So I'm gonna upset a few people and maybe hurt a few people when I say this, but roadmaps are roadmaps. They're guidelines that are usually created even before the first iteration of a product, based on either previous experience or speculation. So your question, can the roadmap change? Yes, it can change. Either it can be quicker or slower, that's for sure. Things happen in business. You need to be agile, and roadmaps do change. They are actually meant to change. To be honest, a roadmap is not set in stone. I would love to say it was, but unfortunately, and sometimes it's a good thing that it's not set in stone. Actually, most of the time, it's a good thing. So yeah, obviously, we would love to list more things quicker. You have to understand that we're going to vet these things, and other competitors, like a Binance, don't at all, and I think that's painfully obvious. And that might be fine now in the wild, wild west that they are running around the world to operate in. But it's not fine in a regulated environment. And it's not fine for business continuity, and it doesn't promote long-term growth and stability. So that means that while I'd love to get everybody onboarded and have 1,000 tokens, 300 altcoins, and 45 coins on my platform tomorrow, it's an impossibility to do it correctly. So the goal here is to do it as fast as we can, but it's about quality over quantity. So it needs to happen in a quality manner. We need to do it in a structured manner. It needs to be done so that the regulators see that we do things properly, that the banks want to work with us, and that we promote this ideal that, well, we're transparent and we do things the right way. And yes, pooling liquidity. So yeah, look, liquidity sharing. Of course, liquidity providers in this space are essential. That's essentially what we're doing. I have a side project right now that's kind of being drawn out. That's basically let's say, an institutional aggregator of exchange liquidity. And there's a few already out there, but like most things in this space, until I see it done and until I understand how they do it, I don't really care that it's being done, because most things are done incorrectly. And most things are done without most people try to go like your question 1, and they think they need to be as fast as possible, which I'm not going to say being fast is a bad thing, because it's not. But being fast and making mistakes on a financial company that will be under the guise of regulation might not be the smartest thing to do. And while it may make you some money, in the short term, it probably will make you less money in the long term. So going on to number 10, Crispy Chocolate Delight, Crispy Chalk Delight. Hi, so you just sent out your GDPR email. However, it states by taking no action, it assumes you are happy to receive emails. From what I understand, passive acceptance is not legal under GDPR. Can you confirm and resend with correct structure? I would have to say you're incorrect. So the email that we, respectively, the email that we sent out, we already received consent through our Hong Kong entity. Until we actually go into regulated activities, we are still under our Hong Kong entity. This is asking you if you will continue, if you would like to continue the consent you've already given. It's not passive to a certain extent because, well, and even if it was passive, it's fine. Passive is fine up to this point. Clients that come onto the exchange will have to physically select opt-in or opt-out. And again, to my understanding, and we've gone over this quite a lot internally, there's absolutely no issue with how it was done. Obviously, we've had a lot of external guidance to this as well. But again, the consent was already given. This is just making sure and basically reaffirming the fact that was given. And now that we have a new privacy policy that's on the website, it essentially carries over from the Hong Kong entity. So, number 11, Zeneki. Off topic. What's your favorite vegan spot to eat in Tallinn? Good question. So I actually have been to a few vegan places here, but unfortunately, with my work schedule and the fact that they're quite, let's say, there's usually a lot of people at these places. I've actually tried to go to one a few times and haven't been able to get a seat. And my working hours right now have kind of made it a little difficult. So I can't really give you a favorite spot. I have a few restaurants, though, that I quite enjoy. There's a Georgian restaurant called the Georgian Tavern, and the Lobiani, which essentially is, which you can ask for a vegan Lobiani, which doesn't have milk or butter in the bread, is very, very good. And the Amozelili, which is a kind of bean stew, if you like beans, I guess. But that's one of my favorite places when I get any type of like craving for a hearty meal. And when I do try some of the vegan places out, I'll let you know. There is a vegan dessert kind of cafe place, and I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it's near Pagari 1, which is a building in Old Town, and really good desserts there. So last question here, Gem Talk 89. At what point will exchanges start to get on board? I don't know if that means listings. I already covered that in an earlier question. If it means exchanges buying liquidity from us, that would happen probably towards Q1 2019 once we're able to build out our book and have substantially, let's say, more liquidity. And as we build on existing, or at that time existing, and obviously newer liquidity relationships. Okay, guys, we have about 17 minutes left. I'm going to go back onto the stream. I'm going to start answering some questions. So feel free to pop back in your question if it has. I can see like the last four, just to give you an idea. So I see Carol. I see Carol. Hi, Kevin. What I understand is not a good strategy to market CoinMetro now because it's not optimal. How is market strategy overall? You've had 3 weeks ago on the AMA that the team was about to go through some marketing workshop. Yep, we're in the marketing workshop. We just did it. We're out of it actually, but we just did it. Obviously we will be doing some form of marketing, Carol, and that marketing essentially will revolve around brand awareness. We'll be doing organic marketing, non-paid ads. Let's say we'll be boosting some posts here and there for brand awareness to start to get people a little more aware of what CoinMetro is. We will start to do some focused PR that will focus on government outreach, regulator outreach here in Estonia. Which some people might not think is important, but to me is vitally important. If you can't become number one in Estonia, you're going to have a difficulty in becoming number one anywhere else. So that's where we're starting. And then, of course, as we get behind me, you can kind of see here, as we get more into probably 3, 4, Q1, as we launch products, marketing will start. We've allocated a marketing budget year one, which is really just let's say 2 quarters, which is quarter 3, quarter 4 for the most part, of 750,000 euro. So that money will be spent as we start to launch products. Stefan has a question. When will ICO Express be 100% usable? ICO Express is slated for, I believe, Q1 of 2019 at this point. It's been slightly pushed out from the original roadmap, mainly because in order to fully get the full revenue stream and the ability to market ICO Express, we kind of need to have all other, especially the ETCF and obviously the exchange with liquidity options and the ability, hope maybe at that point, to somewhat underwrite these ICOs aside from the ETCF. We think it's important. So Q1 2019. Stephen Crocker. Hi, Kevin. 2 questions. Do you think it will be a good idea to pay bounties if applied to CM and Ether rather than XCM? The bounty hunters I know do a quick flip, and it might help to prevent negative impact on price. How will the voting process work? Have you thought about utilizing DAO governance where voting can take place using XCM? Thanks for all you do for us. Okay, Stephen, so part of your first question, bounties on what? Obviously, we had a bounty during the ICO or the token sale. Do you mean like bug bounties? I mean, I'm not sure. Initially, obviously, when we first put the token on the market, there's going to be some downward pressure. So the more we can do to reduce that downward pressure by not giving away XCM to people, to subsets we may think might initially dump them immediately. So I agree with you there. So yes, it might make more sense to do more of a standardized, non-tokenized offer there. However, over time, I think it becomes less of an issue. And yes, for the voting, the voting, we do plan to use some type of, I don't necessarily want to, I wouldn't like to charge to vote. However, I know why people charge to vote, because you don't want just anybody voting. You want to have some skin in the game, so to speak. But I think the fact that someone holds XCM, a certain amount of XCM, is probably enough to allow them to vote. It means they have skin in the game. So I think there will be some type of hybrid there between what you've seen elsewhere and kind of what we create in the end for the voting mechanism. Tyler Moss, in terms of USA residents and USD traders, I understand that USD pairing probably won't be available day one, but will I be able to hedge my trading risk by trading into Euro, GDP, or any other stable currency, or will fiat trading only be available for EU SEPA residents? No. You'll be able to trade Euro-based pairs from wherever. It's just the onboarding of that fiat currency will only be available in wherever it happens to be available. So initially, let's say if we launched today, it would be Euro in the SEPA zone. But that doesn't mean if you lived in South Africa, you couldn't buy BTC Euro using BTC, for example, or using whatever. Again, we do actually, we're working on a payment gateway right now that offers USD, pound. It's a slightly more expensive. It's a percentage-based transaction, but it's possible that it will be available. It probably will be available. So there may be an on-ramp. I can't announce who it is again because there's certain ways these things need to be announced. But it's a very well-known payment gateway here in Europe. Not so much in Eastern Europe, but Western Europe for sure. UK most definitely. But to answer your question, you'll be able to trade those pairs even if you don't have you're not able to onboard the fiat or offboard the fiat. You would just if you had Euro in your wallet, you might not be able to withdraw it if you didn't have a SEPA-based account under this example, but you'd be able to hold it there and then trade it back into some crypto at another point in time. Gustavo, impressive transparency. Appreciate it, Gustavo. There's no lying is difficult because you have to remember your lies. Transparency is painful sometimes, but it's the only way to go. Especially if your financial company isn't transparent, run. Daniel Bragman, so will the debit card be prepaid or will it be drawn directly from our exchange wallet in real time? So the initial module we were looking at allowed real time. It's still prepaid. Under the guise of how these things are done, it's still considered a prepaid card. It just basically has a module or an API that is able in real time to check the balance through API of our wallet system and then grant the withdrawal based on that at the ATM. So that's what we want to do. The reason why one of the cards that we wanted to offer, I'm now looking for options, is because the issuer of that card at this time will not allow crypto companies to use that module. I have, however, found a solution to that. It's a much more expensive solution, but it's backed by one of the largest companies that deal in this space in the world. So it's probably the way we're going to go, but we're in negotiation, and negotiation is king. And unfortunately, price is king as well when it comes to these negotiations. So we're working to see what we can do there. We want to give them our business, but we don't want to pay too much for what they're offering. So negotiations are moving, but I think next week that negotiation will be completed, hopefully. Sandro asking, I think it would be a killer feature to be able to embed a trading view chart from our own account for a CoinMetro trading pair. Do you think this is something you could do? And if yes, do you think it's feasible? Embed a trading view chart from an own account. So, like, does that mean you're on the TradingView website, and then you can basically take that chart and kind of pull in the data from us to chart it on TradingView? That's probably possible. Now, we're going to be using a charting library, I think, that's more powerful than TradingView. So I don't know if that's needed. If we got to the point where a lot of people wanted to use TradingView, and they were willing to take our API for quotes, then yeah, it'd be 100% possible, and I'd be willing to do it without any problem. So we'll see if that's possible. If they will accept quotes from us, then yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible, just from a tech perspective, to be honest. Okay, guys. So we have roughly 8 minutes to go here. Okay. Stephen Crocker, is there an update on having a flash sale? Sorry if I missed this. Well, we didn't talk about it, Stephen, so you didn't miss anything. No update yet, because I think I said this last time. The only way I would do this, and this is partially because of the great feedback we got from the community, so I appreciate you guys for being open and honest. Don't think that when you rant and rave and go nuts and like throw up a bunch of memes, I get a little, it perturbs me a bit, personally. But when negative comments, I like negative comments. You learn a lot more from negative comments than sometimes you do from positive ones, right? So I appreciate the community being open about what they thought. And what I learned from what the community said, and it really makes business sense, and it really makes a lot of sense, is that if we do this, we do it on the back of as soon as that flash sale or flash sales end, the token is tradable. So that means that we need to set that date. And that specific date is not yet set. So what I would say is you have to understand that we did our token sale in Hong Kong. This flash sale, I don't know if it would be Hong Kong based or it would be Estonia based. So that brings in a bit of a legal caveat there that we didn't have to think about previously. So as we get closer to the actual launch of trading, and we will do hopefully a month before that actually happens, or at least a few weeks, so probably more towards the time we have our beta launch, we'll be able to give a more clear decision there. I think if we do it right, where it benefits everyone involved, it makes sense. But we need to do it correctly. Carol Braga, sorry if I missed it, but there is a data launch of XCM. So Carol, XCM tradability on the platform is scheduled to happen right after we get out of what essentially is the beta demo. So beta demo is scheduled to start on June 15th. Now, that the beta is, we weren't really considering a demo version initially. But to be honest, for stress testing, it's the best way to go. That means that people can jump on and trade, 1 billion won, every 10 seconds. And it's going to give us much more insight and allow us to collect more data to understand what needs to be fixed, enhanced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once we get out of that and we go into live trading, shortly after that, we will launch. So specific date, no. I don't know how long that demo is going to last. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It really depends on, well, what everything looks like. From now, we just actually had this discussion with our dev team. They kind of came in on Skype while we were doing our marketing so that we could have this marketing roadmap behind us more fleshed out. And the point there is that they're confident that that June 15th date is solid for the demo. And when I asked them how long they thought the demo was going to launch, there was kind of a unison reply that it all depends on the stress tests, but that things looked stable. So you can kind of infer from that what you wish. Alex Ander, will there be open days in CoinMetro office? Yes, we actually discussed that as part of our marketing strategy, actually, especially for localized PR. Yes, there will be, and when we have one, you will know about it. Okay, so yes, we want to do that. I think it's cool. I'd love to meet people, not only from the government and the regulation and things like that, but I'd love to meet you guys as well. You know, I like meeting people that feel this as strongly about something as I do. It usually means a good conversation and a good time, and it's usually productivity, which is great. I love productivity. Tyler Moss, what's your take on a large number of exchanges coming into the space, both from large actors and small? Does this worry you, or you're concerned that large space and many exchanges can coexist? It doesn't worry me. I know that, look, it's kind of like if you said any business you want to launch, a car wash, gas station, a convenience store, clothing company, baseball card distributing, I don't know, whatever. There's always going to be a multitude of people trying to do the same thing. It's the same thing that there's a lot of kids that apply every year to Yale or Harvard or Cambridge. Not many of them get in. Most businesses fail. That's the actual amount of ICOs that fail is pretty comparable to the amount of businesses that fail. So no, that doesn't concern me. And to put a cherry on that one is that the more exchanges, the more professional, regulated exchanges that come out, the more liquidity there is in the space, the better it is for every professional, regulated exchange that exists. So I say bring it on. Bring on professionalism. Bring on compliant exchanges. And those that aren't compliant, you know, hopefully you made enough money because, you know, your days are probably numbered to a certain extent. Thanks, Jason, for the comment on the website. We're going to continue making it better over time, so appreciate that. Jared Figueredo. Oh. Hello, Kevin. This is Jared, the founder of Horace Pay. Do you have any updates in the supporting listing our EOS Hours native token? I don't, and don't take that the wrong way. It's not like we looked at it and said we're not going to contact these guys because we don't like them. We've had a lot of similar questions. And there's a lot of stuff for us to focus on now. Obviously, we need to make a good exchange for you to actually want to be listed with us. So that's our current goal. And as we get closer to that goal and surpass that goal, business development will kick in strong. And that means we will be outreaching, especially to you guys who reached out to us, and also to other coins, tokens, altcoins that excite us and that we want to do business with. So just hang in there, and I apologize if you know, our two roadmaps might clash a bit, but we want to make sure that our offering makes sense to you, and that requires right now our full attention. Garth Hutchinson, Kevin, my KYC is still pending after 5 or 6 weeks. I'm a U.S. investor, and I need to know what my status is before the launch. If you already addressed this today, just say Garth. I went over that, and I will go back over the parts. Garth, I have not gone over that. So about 8 weeks ago, we told our support staff that at least at that time, all U.S. should be pending. And that was just to because we didn't have a clear, maybe it was a little more than 8 weeks. Now we do have a clear path forward, though we haven't announced it because we can't. And I know that maybe doesn't make sense, but you should, in the next few days, there's probably still about 1,200 pending. There were much, much more pending. So our guys are going through them. What you can do is this to speed up the process. And if you've already contacted hello at CoinMetro, they probably told you that, you know, almost what I've said, maybe not verbatim. Send an email to me directly, Kevin at, you can guess where, CoinMetro.com, and I will forward that on to our director of compliance, and she'll have a look personally and have a look for you. So thanks for the time. Thanks for posting that question, and we'll try to get it solved for you. Jason Stevenson, how will the debit cards be distributed, and will there be a charge fee? Hash card and hold cards are currently at the end of their ICOs. Do you follow a similar path? I have to be 100% blunt here. Hash card and hold cards, I do not know who they are, which doesn't really say anything about them. I've been focused on CoinMetro. Again, everybody should be offering cards. If we can do it, that doesn't mean no one else can do it. I think it costs money to do this. I think the fact, just having a card, but not having an exchange with that card, not being able to sell, I mean, our whole thing is a one-stop shop. So I'm not scared about people that offer one service. I think those, unless they're truly specialized, and a debit card is not specialized, right now it might be considered unique. It won't be, trust me. So I think putting money behind something like that doesn't make much of sense for the long term. I can't tell you we're going to follow a similar path because I haven't looked at them. What I can tell you is that we're trying to align all of our products and services to make sure we hit all the segments that we think are available both inside the marketplace and outside the marketplace. So we're going quite wide. And over time, we want to expand those features and services so that you really can come to CoinMetro for all your kind of financial crypto needs without having to go anywhere else. That's the goal. 1 minute left. Yep, time is up. So we're over by 1 minute. I don't see any final questions coming in. I'm going to have to say, as I always do, thank you guys very much for tuning in. It was the first day for this new structure, so I appreciate everybody kind of bearing with me as we're gonna start to professionalize this a bit over time. So we will see how this evolves. Hold on, I have Robin, so I have to give some credence to Robin, one of our more active Telegram members. So he's under the name Bart Bosser here. It says, I talked about this with a mod in the general chat, but in hindsight, I probably misunderstood. So I'd like to ask for clarification. Will our personal Euro wallets have their own IBAN number, or will it just be a system with one IBAN for the whole exchange combined with a unique reference number, similar to how other brokers do it? If the latter, do you think it will be possible in the future to have our Euro wallet have our own IBAN number? Good question, Robin. I think we think on the same level. So the solution we have now will not provide individual IBANs. The debit card solution, however, may, and that should be available in July, which means you can onboard funds and withdraw funds with that debit card. So a little bit unique there. On top of that, however, the e-money license in the UK is being looked at and will be applied for that exact reason, so that we can provide individual IBANs to all our clients. So obviously that's going to take some time, probably 2 months preparation, 3 months to get the license. So we're talking about a 6-month journey there. But as I said, one of the debit card solutions we're looking at will allow for IBANs. So that means that, like I said, that debit card not only will be an off-ramp for fiat, it'll be an on-ramp as well. So anyway, guys, thanks again. Thank you very much for coming in. Thanks for the questions. We're probably going to launch another Reddit so that people can put additional questions for next week. Please keep them coming. Those questions are great. They fit right into our new structure. If you want us to talk about something that happened in the crypto space that has nothing to do with CoinMetro, at least directly, please send it to us. Whether it's through hello@CoinMetro, whether it's through Telegram, whether it's to Reddit, let us know about it. We're going to try to fine-tune the structure over time so that it works for everybody, keeps everybody well informed and engaged. And again, thanks for listening to me talk here for another hour this week. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend. See you guys next week. I'm going to try to jump into Telegram today and over the weekend. And again, guys, I really appreciate you guys. And we couldn't be here without you. And yeah, my hat's off to you guys. Thanks a lot, and see you in a week.